And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. We are out on the road today. We're excited about it, Ben. We're at Performance Toyota, and not only are we excited to be here at Performance, a beautiful car dealership right here in Bountiful, but we're also hanging out with Best Friends Pet Adoption. We're helping pets find a home.
It's our goal.
Yeah, you were just holding a cute little puppy.
A darling little puppy. I'm going to put it on our social media right now at Jake and Ben Zone, or Jake and Ben KSL.
You were tempted.
Jake and Ben KSL.
You were tempted for a second.
I almost put it in my backpack.
You currently have a dog.
I do.
You nearly had two. Just I feel like seconds away from having a second dog.
16-year-old dog would not have loved the puppy, but I love the puppy. So that's the 16-year-old has to adjust.
So we know who's in charge at the Anderson
That's
household.
That's not true, actually. The dog's in charge.
That's what I'm saying. The dog is in charge.
Yes, correct.
It's not you.
No,
I wasn't giving you credit for being in charge. You're like sixth on the list. And you only have two kids and a dog. Somehow, like, the microwave takes priority.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Oh, good. I'm glad you acknowledge it. How are you? Good to see you. Well, we'll encourage people to come by to see us, but come by and adopt a pet. If you've been thinking about it, now is your time. We're in the Bountiful area.
Yeah.
And if you've been looking for a new or used automobile, Performance Toyota is here for you. So all the things.
We're going to be here till noon, but show's here all day.
We're doing multiple things. Yeah, the adoption is. And, in fact, we've got multiple locations teaming up, kind of making a whole station-wide effort kind of thing to help these animals find homes. So really cool. I believe Hans and Scotty are going to be down at the shelter, actually, in Salt Lake.
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
then JJ and Alex are going to be down south in Linden.
So we're all over the place.
Yeah,
so
we're all over the place. But
right.
The point is we're close to you, no matter there is a show close to you today. Pretty much wherever you're listening. I guess if you're, like Ben or Christian's Brigham City up there, maybe it's kind of a hike, but that's not bad.
No, come on down.
What is Brigham City to Bountiful, Christian? That's only like 20 minutes, right?
No, it's about 40.
Oh, come on. Come on.
You got to drive faster.
Seriously.
But I would say I would drive that distance for a dog.
I mean,
or a cat.
I'll drive from Salt Lake to Brigham City for a steak at Maddox. I'll tell you that. It's not that far. Christian's just soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I drive the speed limit.
I actually do too. It doesn't make sense to speed. I've gone on about it before. But unless you're going to like California, you actually don't get to your destination much faster. Not going to participate, Ben? This is one of the more fun weeks that there is to do sports radio covering an NBA team.
Yeah, the trade deadline is tomorrow. We're a little more than 24 hours away. The Jazz haven't been quiet. The Jazz have already made 2 trades, which is as many or more than anyone else has made, but they have not gotten involved in these blockbusters, and we will see. I'm not expecting the Jazz to acquire blockbuster talent. Certainly, though, I would never put anything past Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge, who are active and always looking to improve their roster. But, there was a trade this morning. Former Ute Kyle Kuzma traded from the Washington Wizards to the Milwaukee Bucks. He's getting traded for Chris Middleton, so he hopes to step into that kind of third scoring role and be a guy there. It might even be their, number 2 scorer. I guess no. I mean, no. They're gonna need shot creation, is I guess what I should say. He's not gonna be their number 2 scorer, but he might be a guy who generates some looks that Chris Middleton was no longer able to do. And with his size, he does have that ability, but I'm not sure if the Jazz are going to get involved in something, major like that necessarily, because I'm not sure they're looking to add that much talent.
No, I mean, I don't think they're going to be looking to take back any talent, really. They'll take back contracts. I think Hood Schifino is intriguing because if it's true, he didn't get much of an opportunity to develop, and maybe there's something there. That's always interesting. But, I mean, the reason he's on the Jazz is because of his contract, right? And if they acquired a veteran, it would be for that reason. No, I think they're actively trying to jettison veterans. I just don't know what the market's going to look like with that. But the thing is, with all these big names potentially moving, that means big salaries have to move too. And so that could, further the opportunity for the Jazz either to jump on. John Collins has a sizable salary that could, make a trade work. So something like that. I still think that John Collins and Colin Sexton both would make any number of teams better. And I think you agree with that. So I don't know. Maybe it's a salary thing why those two don't seem to be in more high demand, but I don't get it. I mean, John Collins is balling.
Yeah, and there is a demand for centers right now, and John Collins is not a traditional 5, but he can play 5 and has played quite a bit of 5 for the Jazz, including starting all last year once Walker Kessler got hurt. So at $25 million with only $25 owed next year, and the fact that there's a chance he could either opt out or you renegotiate his salary, you could actually probably drop it down a little bit as long as you give him more years. I would think John would have some appeal for some of these teams that need better front court help. But then again, what are you going to send back? These teams that want a center are generally teams that are close to winning a title or think they're close to competing in the playoffs, and generally those teams aren't just flush with large contracts to send out. That's the hard part.
Can I ask you this about John Collins? And if we want to dive more into the Kuzma trade, I'm all about it. I think that's a good move for Milwaukee. It makes them better just because Kuzma plays.
Yeah, he can move still.
I don't know if I agree with your can generate shots or whatever. We saw Middleton play really well against the Jazz the other night.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't play enough.
Yeah.
And you can't count on him to play in the playoffs. Kuzma's younger.
Yeah. Chris can't defend at all anymore, unfortunately.
Right.
So he was a heck of a
Kuzma
player.
isn't interested in defense either. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to fix Milwaukee, you needed to get somebody who can guard. But I do think that that Kuzma makes them better. But Ben, I've been thinking about like where narratives come on players and how strong they are with John Collins. And I think that everybody just pictures him not even at the beginning of his career in Atlanta. I think everybody just pictures him, if for some reason, frozen in time is his last season in Atlanta. And that's what the narrative is on him.
Yeah.
That the Hawks gave up on him because he wasn't good, he was overpaid, and then he goes to the Jazz, and then nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and how strong the narrative is and where it comes from on these players. Jordan Clarkson's best season was the season after Darren, I keep wanting to call Donovan Mitchell Darren Williams for some reason. Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert left.
Right.
And he started, and he was kind of the point guard at times.
20 points a game.
And he super rounded out his game. But if you heard any of the national morons talk about Jordan Clarkson, all they talked about was, well, he would be a big help to a team coming off the bench in a Lou Williams type role. Like, nobody even noticed that he had gotten better as a player and that he had a really great season. And so John Collins rounds out his game. The numbers are there, Ben. We watch him every night. The performance is there.
Yep.
But for some reason, the dumb general managers out there have John Collins frozen in their mind as the last season in Atlanta. And I don't get that. And maybe the answer why people aren't banging down the Jazz door for John Collins, maybe that's a salary thing. And I don't know what, but I can't believe it's a basketball thing. And maybe it is. Maybe people just don't pay attention to notice that you've got a guy who's banging threes at an alarming rate, who can play a small ball big, who can play a wing, incredibly versatile. Apparently, from what I've heard, a dang delight to have in your locker room.
Yeah.
I don't get why some of these teams aren't. I mean, we could come up with examples, but he makes everybody better.
Yeah, I mean, he's again, this is exactly what we're talking about, because what I say is going to elicit a response from people, or solicit a response. John Collins is the Jazz's best player right now.
Yeah, he or Walker Kessler probably, but yeah.
But you're right, to the point where everyone's like, no, it's Lowry. Well, it's like, well, that has been Lowry's reputation for the last 2 years. Lowry has not been the Jazz's best player this year.
He's not playing well, certainly right now.
He is the leading scorer on the team, but he's at 19 points a game. He's not shooting as well as John Collins is. He's taking more shots than John Collins is. He averages fewer rebounds. He plays more minutes. He has fewer blocks. He has fewer steals. Like, as far as impacting a game right now, I get Lowry is shooting 8 threes a game and generates space, and that can really help teams in certain positions. But as far as just like overall game, helping a team, yeah, John Collins has been the Jazz's certainly better than Lowry. I would listen to Walker for sure, but John Collins is, the guy who probably is been the most effective night in and night out when he's been on the floor, because there are nights when Lowry's just kind of unimpactful and will have 16 points in the third quarter and not do anything since that.
But what you're talking about right there is part of what I'm talking about with narratives.
Right, exactly right.
Because Lowry faces 3 guys on every play. He doesn't have an inch of space ever. He's at the top of everybody's scouting report. Meanwhile, teams, I watch it every night, refuse to close out on John Collins.
Yeah.
They refuse to do it.
And he's shooting 45% from 3.
And he just drops open 3 after open 3 in the face of everybody. Now, where John's really improved, too, is if you do close out on him, he's going to put it on the floor and go right by you. He's gotten really good at that, too. Again, really well-rounded out his game. But teams I don't get that. John Collins they don't even mention John Collins, I would bet, in the scouting report. And he's killing it.
No.
I don't get why we can't get over that players change, or even that we were wrong about players.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard part. We don't want to allow people to shake up our expectations in sports in general, which is why there was a lot of pushback on Nikola Jokic can't be the best player in basketball. We've never seen a player like that be the best player in basketball. And then he is, and once it's accepted, it's something we can run with for 4 or 5 years, And yeah, I do think that attitude probably has to change a little bit on John Collins, and I'll be curious how the Jazz feel about it, because you know your own players better than anybody else does, so you know what his flaws are behind the scenes, and you know what does work and what doesn't work, and if this is sustainable or not. And I think the Jazz's belief on whether or not this is sustainable probably plays a role in how much they want to hold on to him.
All right, so we will get to that more, of course, throughout the show. We are here at Performance Toyota. We're in Bountiful, 2380. Right here, 2380, and then right on US 89. It's real easy to find, not far from the freeway. And come by. We're here with Best Friends Pet Adoption. If you've been thinking about a pet, today is your day, and we're here in Bountiful, and you can come take one home. But it's time, Ben, to switch gears a little bit and talk a little hockey. He is an analyst for the Utah Hockey Club. You can see him on TV. You can hear him on the radio. You get him online. You hear him right here on the Jake and Ben Show. He's the one and only Nick Olczyk. What's going on, Nick?
Jake, Ben, I don't know about you guys, but I had a hard time sleeping last night because I was absolutely wired after that overtime winner from Dylan Guenther, who made his incredible return after missing via injury for 12 games, and he scored with less than a second to go. I mean, the pop from the Delta Center last night was like the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin at the Royal Rumble. Like it was unbelievable, and what a dramatic ending to what was a hell of a hockey game. Yeah,
coming on the heels of 5 straight losses, 2 of the last 3 had been in overtime. They go to overtime again. Dylan Guenther, as you mentioned, been out for 12 games. For that to come back and snap the losing streak, for it to happen at the very last second of overtime, for it to be Guenther, for it to be his second goal of the game, I just thought that's as perfect a story as you could have to provide relief from a difficult stretch for the team, and a reminder to me, Nick, of what this is all about. This is about a couple of these 20-year-old kids who are developing and trying to make their place in the NHL in a new state in Utah, and I thought that's something that we're going to remember for a really long time.
Yeah, the one thing for sure is that anybody, young or old, that was at that game, that's going to be a game that you remember forever because of the circumstance of the game. Dylan Guenther coming back, losing 5 in a row, last game of the homestand, going out on the road, a game that this team really needed to find a way to win, and they found a way. That's the key. It's not always, it certainly plays into consideration at times how you win, but at the end of the day, this time of the year, you're just trying to bank points as much as you can. And look, a couple of tough losses in overtime, but the positive side of those losses, you got a point in a couple of those games, so you're maintaining the gap and trying to climb your way towards the teams that are above you in the standings. So, look, Dylan Guenther is going to be with this team for a long time to come, right? This last summer, he signed the 8-year deal. Moving forward, every 2 times a month, he's going to have the Brinks truck driving into his driveway and dumping off a whole lot of cash. And last night is an example of why he's earned it. And he's still 21 years of age, still a young guy, still a lot of growing to do, still a lot of learning to do, still a lot of improving to do. But where he's at right now, far better than a lot of players. So, it's just the excitement level of this team. And let's not forget what Bill Armstrong had said, the great GM for the Utah Hockey Club at the beginning of the year. There's going to be games where this team looks like they can go all the way. And then there's going to be games where they're going to frustrate the heck out of you. And that's just the growing pains of a young team, learning how to win, learning how to close out games, finding ways to keep leads even when maybe you're not playing your best. So, overall, just an exciting game considering all the storylines that surrounded it. But if I had to say, aside from the great impact that Dylan Guenther provided, it was how when the Philadelphia Flyers reclaimed the lead 57 seconds after Utah was able to tie the game at 1-1, they stuck to it. They didn't mope. They didn't pout. They didn't let the wind become taken out of their sails. They stuck with their game, and they didn't let the 2-1 lead for Philly turn into 3 or 4-1. And then you get to the third period, and they find a way to tie it. And then you have to kill off a huge penalty, in halfway through the third period. So, look, just a gutsy win, a team win, and right at this time of the year, you're just trying to bank as many points as you can, and that's what this team has tried to do lately. Though the wins haven't been there, hopefully last night can be the real positive jumpstart that they need in terms of getting those wins as they head out on the Eastern road trip.
Nick, one thing I like about you is I can ask you really dumb questions and you don't make me feel dumb. So with that in mind, here comes a dumb one. What is up with the injury reports? Meaning I could lose my arm out there and they'd be like, he's got an upper body injury. What? Why are they super vague? What's the deal?
I think it's more than anything, I think it's to protect players. Look, our hockey players, malicious by nature. I could maybe count on one hand the amount that I know that are like that. So I don't think anybody is going out there trying to hurt other guys. I really don't think that's in the DNA of a hockey player. But I think more times than not, it's to protect players in that way. Because if you say he's got a right arm injury and you got two guys that are going into a battle at the net front, and is the defenseman gonna know that he's got the right arm injury? So maybe gives him a little bit harder of a cross check to that right arm. Yeah, maybe. So look, I know in other sports that are also physically demanding, the injuries are a little bit more specific. I think that is in place and has been in place for forever to try and protect these guys and not give the opponent any sort of edge as far as what exactly is bothering each player for what they're going through.
Nick, again, I'm going to ask you a stupid question that may not make a whole lot of sense, but as far as a player like Dylan Guenther, who is he's not just a shooter, but he's a shooter. I mean, he can score from anywhere on the ice, and he's so accurate, and he's got such a quick release. What is it, though? Like, what is it that makes a great shooter in hockey a great shooter, and how does Dylan Guenther compare to maybe some of the other great shooters in the NHL? And is that skill enough to lift you to towards the top of the league as far as being a great player goes, or is it a little bit like a three-point shooter in basketball where you're like, well, he's a specialist, and it actually kind of lowers your ceiling a little bit?
Two things come to mind, and I could be talking to you guys until we all go to bed tonight about all the things that make him such a great shooter. Let's make it three things. First, I think he doesn't need a lot of time to be able to get off an accurate and powerful shot. There are players in the league that can shoot it really hard. They can shoot it really accurate, but they need an extra split second to stick handle the puck, get their head up, look at the net, and then fire it there. And that works for some guys. But when you're under pressure, like Dylan Guenther was on both of his goals, there's a very short window of time where you need to be able to get that puck off your stick in a hurry. So I think he doesn't need the big windup. And even you look at his one-timer goals in the power play from the left-hand circle, he really doesn't have to lift his stick that high to fire it at the net. Like, he just has a short, compact, it's almost kind of like a wrist snapshot where he doesn't have to stick handle the puck and then pull it all the way back and like slingshot it forward in that way. So I think just almost from a base stance, he could just all wrists just fired at the net, and he's got plenty of power behind that shot. second, he knows where the net is. And you had mentioned that he can score from anywhere. It's kind of muscle memory, and we saw this on his first goal of the night when he tied it. He was entering the zone. And anybody that has a chance, go watch Dylan Guenther's first goal tonight. He's entering the blue line, getting into the offensive zone off the rush, and he lies with his eyes. He looks over at Michael Carcone, and that says one thing to two players, the defenseman and the goaltender. That tells them that at least he's looking and thinking pass. And then at the last second, he snaps his head forward, and I do think he doesn't even look. By the time the puck is off his stick, that's probably when he's able to look forward. So it's the deception he has in his game of telling other players on the ice, oh, I'm going to look to do this, but in reality, I'm going to fire that puck. And he beat Ersson blocker's side, and he really had no chance. He didn't see that puck until it went by him, similar to the overtime goal that he had, where, yeah, he was looking up. He was looking at the net, trying to pick his corner, but he had Travis Sanheim of the Philadelphia Flyers defending in front of him. He had Scott Laughton pressuring from behind, and there was a very, very tiny window to be able to not only get the puck off your stick, but stretch the twine and get it past the goaltender who, as I said on the first goal, didn't even see that puck until it went by him. So I think it's the perfect combination of the quick release, but also muscle memory of knowing exactly where the net is and not having to get his head up, pick his corner, look at the net. He just fires it, and more times than not, he's able to find the back of the net. And the final piece to the puzzle is his brain. For as great of a shot as he has, he's got good speed, he's got a good stick to be able to break plays up and force turnovers. But to me, it's the brain that he has where he puts himself in the right spot all the time with the puck, but more importantly, without the puck. That's why he's so fun to play with for these guys, is because if you have the puck on your stick and you get your head up, more times than not, Dylan Guenther is going to be open. Now, that's not luck. It's work because you got to move your feet to get into spots. And look, every game he goes into, the opponent has him circled with a thick red marker on their pre-scout. Watch out for this guy. Cover this guy on the power play. When he's got the puck, we got to be on him right away. Well, you got to work double hard to get open if that's the case, and that's exactly what he does. So great to see him back. He's going to play a key role if he can stay healthy the rest of the season. And it's, man, oh, man, with the great attitude he's got as well, he gave a real boost to the boys, and man, oh, man, did they ever need it.
Nick, we are helping find pets homes today, and we know you're traveling, about to get on a plane, but how many cats can Ben throw in the car for you?
Yeah, I'll drop them off at your house.
Yeah, we can get you when you get back.
Hey, I'll take as many as you guys can throw. Is it only cats? Are there any other
Oh, we got
pets
dogs.
too?
Yeah, we've got puppies.
Okay, I don't discriminate. So cats are nice. I like cats, but I grew up with pups. So if you got any dogs, especially black labs, I'm sure that'd be something that I'm interested in.
We'll take a look for you, Nick. Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Nick.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
There you go, Nick Olczyk. Does a great job, and he's nice enough to jump on with us every week. We always look forward to it. As we just mentioned, we're here at Performance Toyota in Bountiful, 2380 US 89, and Patricia is joining us now. First of all, thank you for having us. What a beautiful dealership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a wonderful opportunity for these pets.
Yeah, let's start there. Of course, is the best place to start. We're just matching, pets with families, which is awesome.
It's awesome, and we've already had our first one go out this morning.
Hey, that's great. Dog or a cat?
It was a dog.
Oh, cute little pup.
Yeah.
So, what can you just give us a little bit of background of why everybody's down here and what we're hanging out for and kind of what the goal is today?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is help all of the people. Some of the pets are from the fires from California where they were left behind. Now, we also have some pets as well from the Salt Lake City area that have been, again, left behind. It's sad, but it's wonderful to see that they're all happy. They're all barking, and people are able to hold them, and there's not a problem. So they're doing really well, and it's exciting. We're hoping that we're going to find many homes for these little guys.
And I'm sure you guys look for ways to be involved in community and be more than just a car dealer and be, this is home, right?
It is. You have to do more for your community.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we love doing stuff like this. We're like the road home we do with you guys as well. This is something that will hit home for people, I think. And it'll do a lot of good.
So what's the process today? Can someone just come down? I mean, we said we've already got one out the door, a dog out the door. People just come down, pick it up. Do they need to bring anything with them?
Yep, no, come down. I'm sure they're going to need an ID. Come down to Toyota Bountiful, 2380 South, Highway 89 in Bountiful. Very easy to get to, Woods Cross exit. And you've got plenty of choices, I might say.
Yeah.
I may come home with one.
Yeah, right.
Now, real quick, this isn't a self-serving for me at all, but if you were a family of 4 with 2 little kids and we're looking for a new SUV, where would you start?
Obviously, Toyota Bountiful.
Yeah.
What do you think, 4Runner? My wife likes the Land Cruiser.
Land Cruiser's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. Beautiful.
I'm a 4Runner girl.
Are you a 4? Okay, all right.
Well, which one can we fit the most pets in the back?
Land
Because we can do a twofer.
There you go, Land Cruiser.
6 or 7 cats in the back.
Yeah,
The
right.
Land Cruiser.
The Land Cruiser would fit a lot of
Jake
pets,
and the
I'm
girls
telling
up
you.
front.
Yeah, buddy. All right. Patricia, I know we're going to be hanging out with you throughout the day. Thanks again for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have more next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Joined now by Jason Beck, University of Utah offensive coordinator. I'm curious what you think about the depth of your quarterback group, because if that is a number one stressor for Ute fans, no one can blame them.
This last year was really evident of the injuries there, and it's such an important position. Just affects the entire team at such a high level. We're in a good spot right now, but obviously got a lot of room to develop and grow. When you look at Devin, having had 13 starts under his belt, Isaac having got all those starts in experience this past year, to have 2 guys that have played meaningful snaps in games, that's a solid spot to be in. It's a better situation than a lot of places, but it's always about development and being as ready and prepared as possible.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob in 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you to nominate the U Sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. You ever seen Ozzy perform live?
I've not seen him in person, no.
Saw him a couple of years ago when Black Sabbath came through. I'd say he's the he's the opposite of Mick Jagger, who Mick's an old guy, but like, wow, look at him move.
Yeah,
you know
really
what I
flies
mean?
around.
Like, can still dance around and do all that. Ozzy still sounds the same.
Huh, sounds good.
Like, still sounds exactly the same. He doesn't move a millimeter.
Yeah.
He just stands still with the microphone the whole show, but sounds exactly the same. Anyway, all right, time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, sponsored by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. Christian, where do you want to start today?
Let's go with this. The Jazz are hosting the Golden State Warriors tonight. Are we going to see any moves made between these 2 teams today?
Well, it doesn't sound like we're going to see Kevin Durant tonight. And while there is an ankle injury involved, a lot of people speculate it's because he's going to get traded to the Golden State Warriors in the next 24 hours in what will be a multi-team super blockbuster that will probably include Jimmy Butler, that could include Andrew Wiggins, that could include Draymond Green, that could include Bradley Beal. So a lot of potential for moving pieces coming up in the next 24 hours.
That lands the old maid where?
I actually think it's going to be really hard to get rid of him. I think that's the name they're going to continue to float. I suspect we end up with Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker in Phoenix.
And KD's the one that gets the chair that gets moved on the Titanic.
I've been accused of being a Phoenix Suns hater. I think we understand that that's kind of a running narrative on the show.
Largely true, yeah.
24 months ago, they were, 16 months removed from a finals run with Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all of their draft picks, one of the best young cores in the NBA. Within 2 years, they are 500. Yes, they have Kevin Durant. They have the old maid on their team. They have 0 draft capital. They're trying to get 35-year-old Jimmy Butler right now, who's a worse player than Kevin Durant, just to shake up the status quo, just to get a change of scenery. It's a masterclass in mismanagement and what you need to be worried about if you're a Jazz fan, and why you should be glad that they're not just making silly moves to make silly moves, even though patience can be painful.
And who is Ishbia's Rasputin again?
Little Isaiah Thomas. Little Zeke Thomas.
No, don't say little Isaiah Thomas. That's somebody else.
Oh, you're right. That's Salt Lake City Stars Isaiah Thomas.
That's somebody
Zeke
else.
Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Who's done this before. Ben, you want to talk about track records? Well, old Zeke's left a crater wherever he's been. They had to force him out of New York like 3 times. Disaster every time. But, yeah, take advice from that guy. Sure. Good idea. Yeah, Phoenix is a disaster. I don't understand why they would move Kevin Durant. That makes no sense to me at all, unless they're completely going to rebuild, in which case I asked you before the show, does that mean Devin Booker is available? And
it sounds like Book is the one guy who's not available.
But that doesn't make any sense either. That goes back to our Donovan and Rudy convo where it's keep both or trade both. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Just a reshuffle, that might be – and that might be what they do, don't get me wrong. But that what a silly reasoning for a complete, bold move. If you want to make a bold move because you say, well, if this works, it's going to bring an NBA title.
Yeah.
Okay. Bold move. All right. If you're going to make a bold move because, well, we got to –
what else are we going to do?
We got to shake up this joke.
Yeah, right.
Then
don't do anything.
Then don't do anything or change at all.
Yeah,
then make a bold move the other way. I don't get Phoenix, and maybe that's the point. I don't understand what they're doing. I understand what Golden State's doing. I don't understand why Golden State didn't do it in the off season.
Agreed.
That makes no sense. Now all of a sudden they've got urgency, and the line they drew in Brandon Podziemski they're going to give away for like a second round pick as part of a bigger deal.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense what Golden State's doing either.
Yes, Golden State has been poorly run for a while now.
And I should clarify. I said Kevin Durant's out tonight. He is out for the Phoenix Suns. They're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, they're not playing the Jazz tonight.
No.
The Golden State Warriors are playing the Jazz tonight, but
yeah.
they are trying to get Kevin Durant. So I'm sorry. I kind of mashed 2 things together quickly. But, yes, keep an eye on Draymond Green's availability. We know Jonathan Kuminga's out, but Andrew Wiggins' list is probable. Also, if they make a move for KD, at least one of Draymond Green or Andrew Wiggins will have to be involved. So we will see what happens with those teams tonight. And then, of course, the Utah Jazz could hold players out. No Colin Sexton tonight. He's going to be out at least a week with that ankle injury.
And that is a thing.
And that is an actual thing. He really turned that thing. But also there's a chance he could be involved in a trade before then. So, yes, it's a very busy time right now in the NBA.
I remember Dennis Lindsay always said that this was his least favorite time. See, I want a general manager where this is their favorite time.
Well, I've got great news for you. I think Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck are cooking right now.
I want them to say this is my favorite time.
Yeah.
I love crushing dreams and swindling franchise. It's the best.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks add another player with local ties.
Kyle Kuzma is heading to Milwaukee in exchange for Chris Middleton. Now, Chris Middleton, when he has it, still has it. He just doesn't have it very often because he's very old. His knees are terrible. His ankles are not good, so he does not move very well. So Kyle Kuzma comes in and is younger, is more athletic, is actually cheaper, but has an extra year on his deal. So the Wizards are happy to get out of Kuzma's money a little bit early. And the problem with Kyle Kuzma, honestly, has been that he's been entitled to a role that he's unfit for in Washington. And Washington's completely unserious. And the problem with Kuz, who I actually quite like, is that I think he's going to adopt the identity of the team around him. Because when he was the 4th guy in the Lakers, he was legitimately good in their title run. Like, he played in the playoffs. He was 20 minutes a game. Having a 6'9" guy who could slash and get to the rim and shoot a little bit and rebound, play some defense when he needed to, was really helpful. I would hope he would adopt a little bit more of a serious approach to basketball playing with the Milwaukee Bucks, because it's been a clown show in Washington, and he's been a part of it.
Not his fault. I would argue that Kuz hasn't changed at all. It's not his fault they asked him to be a number one guy on a team that was going nowhere. You know?
Yeah, sure.
That's not it. He should he have passed on the contract that the Wizards offered?
He didn't trade himself to Washington.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I think his goofy outfits, I think he looks dumb. Yeah, and maybe he needs to take things a little bit more seriously, sure. But I don't think he needs to adapt anything he does. I think Milwaukee actually needs him to be exactly who he is. But exactly who he is, if he's the best player on your team, you're going to be on the road to nowhere. Yeah. But he didn't change at all. That's not his fault. So I think if Dame is willing to pass, and if Giannis is also willing to pass, then I think it will work out well. I don't think it makes Milwaukee all that much better from a defensive standpoint, if at all, which is their real problem. But as far as is Milwaukee better today than they were yesterday, yes, simply by the fact that Kuz also plays.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton doesn't play.
Yeah.
So Washington is a clown show. I'll agree with you about that. But that was a clown show long before Kuz got there, and I would guess it will be a clown show for the foreseeable
Totally
future.
agree. He adopts the culture around him. That has been Kuz's issue. So if he can adopt a good culture. Now, look.
But what's clownish about him other than his clown behavior? Or not behavior, wardrobe.
Oh, that he will do just ridiculous plays on it. Like, he just won't play hard. He'll be low attention span. He'll take bad shots. He had said, I'm not going to buy into their thing. He said this last week. I'm not buying into the Wizards thing anymore. I'm just going to do Kyle Kuzma. Like, he will go rogue. He certainly has that ability to take nights off, not play hard. He's got some of that clown behavior that I would say. So that can be an issue for him. The problem in Milwaukee is that Doc Rivers is also a clown. And I could see he and Kyle Kuzma clashing. So that's what I'd keep an eye on. But this is a good opportunity for Kuzma.
Just wear a suit.
No, I like his clothes. I have no problem. Clothes don't matter to me.
See, that's the most clownish behavior.
Button up on the court. I don't care what you wear off the court.
Maybe a nice, tracksuit.
Whatever.
What's third?
Number 3, Dylan Guenther returns from injury, scores the game-winning goal in overtime.
Sergachev from the red line has to wait for Keller to get back on sides. 5 seconds left in OT. Guenther, one more move. Guenther shoots. He scores! Code Blue! Dylan Guenther wins it in overtime!
At the death. Less than a second left when the puck goes through the net to the point where they didn't even have a face-off after that. The game was over. Guenther returns after the 12-game absence. Scores 2 goals, assists Mikhail Sergachev on the other, come from behind victory. Kind of all the things they had been doing wrong, they bucked that trend, it felt like, last night against the Flyers. And the Flyers had been shut out in 2 straight games. It was 3 straight games. So they needed to get this win. This would have been a really bad loss for the hockey club. I don't know if they're competing for the playoffs anymore. Technically, they're 6 points back of the wild card, but the later you get in the season, that gap feels larger and larger and larger, even if it never actually grows. But again, this is about remembering that you are developing these young players, you're trying to create memories of this team, you're trying to have something to celebrate, and you're building on these players for the future. And Guenther and Cooley, who's out now, are showing that they are worth this type of investment.
Can I ask you a dumb question that is kind of in your realm as a movie aficionado?
Uh-huh.
Are games like that the reason that hockey is such a good movie vehicle? Because there's that build, and you can't even you can't write drama like that, right? He comes back, 2 goals, last second, overtime, all the things. It's just a regular season game. I mean, there's a reason that Nick couldn't sleep. Nick Olczyk, who joined us earlier. I mean, just such a thrilling thing. Is that why hockey is? Because there's a lot of good hockey movies.
There's a couple of good hockey movies.
More than basketball. Basketball's a terrible.
Basketball's the worst sport.
Terrible movie vehicle.
It's because hockey players are 5'10". So you can cast guys that are 5'10".
It's a casting thing.
It's really hard to cast realistic basketball players. Really hard. I think that's a major issue. That's why baseball is good too. You can cast 6'1" guys.
See, I thought the Lakers show was really well cast.
Yeah.
The players were really well cast.
They did a good job.
The Clippers one?
Horrendously cast.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad I could only watch 1 episode and then I quit on it.
But
I was I just can't handle this.
You didn't tune in to Winning Time for the action on the court.
No.
And it was okay. It was better than some, but it didn't look like, okay, now they're They're really getting to the exciting part of the basketball.
3/4 of the Mighty Ducks, those movies, like at least half of them is action.
Sure, it's a lot of skating there. But that's kids.
No, but I mean, you could say the same thing about Miracle. Like, at least half that movie is actually on ice action.
I think a lack of familiarity with hockey empowers it. I think that most people haven't played hockey of any. Everybody's played basketball. All you need is a ball. Everybody has played basketball in one sort or another. And because they're like so tight together, like there's all these moving pieces, I think hockey, because nobody's played, it just becomes passable because we don't know what is and isn't believable.
Like 50% of Hoosiers is fishing a drunk Dennis Hopper out of the river.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And the basketball is bad in it.
Yeah.
It's like actively bad, but it's high school, so you give it a pass because it's not supposed to be great.
I'm not really a boxing fan, but boxing movies are incredible.
Yeah,
it's
again,
just
it's
an
one-on-one.
incredible vehicle for a movie, and I understand boxing, but I'm saying, is last night's game an example of why hockey is a good vehicle for a movie? You say no, it's about casting?
Well, there is a famous line, and this is what last night felt like, had nothing to do with movies. There's a famous tweet about hockey, and I'll leave out some of the details, but said, why would I watch playoff hockey when I could just drive a motorcycle out of an airplane? It's like, or out of a helicopter. It's like, it is so exciting. It has such real stakes, and it has such real urgency, and sudden death being a major thing. And knowing that if they didn't score in overtime, they were going to go to a shootout, and they haven't won a shootout yet. So there were a lot of pieces there that upped the urgency in that game. So for Guenther to get it done was part of that excitement. And certainly has been the most exciting game of the year.
All right, well, more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
So on a weekend where the Pro Bowl rolls up, we get the most amazing news dropped in our lap. Is this the biggest trade you've ever witnessed, like where we're all scratching our heads going, holy cow?
There have been big trades over the years, but never a player like this in his prime for another player that's an all-star, all-NBA, all-NBA defensive player of the year type level like this, out of nowhere with nobody knowing it was going to happen. This came out of nowhere. Nobody saw this coming.
Luka, poor guy, didn't see it coming. Luka's dad is talking about how he's crying. He's my goodness, he wasn't laying off the cheeseburgers. They start to do this thing where the character assassination after he leaves too, they go, well, yeah, he's fat. Like, we couldn't keep him in condition. You're going to see Luka Doncic with a freaking six-pack next year and middle fingers blazing.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Want to remind you to visit the contest page at KSLSports.com for your chance to win Jazz tickets, Utah Hockey Club tickets, concert tickets, and more. Plus, this week we're giving away tickets to the Utah Sportsman's Vacation and RV Show, February 13th through the 16th at Mountain America Expo Center. Visit KSLSports.com for your chance to win. Ben, Christian just reminded us that it is Wednesday, indeed. So that means it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to win a pair of tickets to go see Shinedown on the Dance Kid Dance Tour. Special guest Bush and Morgan Wade, August 11th at the Maverick Center. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE.
We have seen a handful of trades today that are really saving teams unbelievable amounts of money, and I think sometimes it gets a little underwhelming to see those types of deals made. But last night the 76ers held out K.J. Martin of their game. They ended up losing, or they beat the Dallas Mavericks, and they traded him today to the Detroit Pistons with 2 second-round picks. K.J. Martin only makes $8 million. They saved $20+ million by making this move, and it's why the Jazz held on to P.J. Tucker's contract so they can make a similar move for a team that's looking to shave, $12, $13, $14, $15 million off their luxury tax bill, even if it's only $3 or $4 million off of actual salary. And why the Jazz have positioned themselves in some way to have this type of flexibility. You take up another team's assets, a couple of draft picks, you're fine, you're going to pay this money anyways, so you swap out a player, take on a little bit more salary, but essentially you buy draft picks for very cheap.
I wish moves like that were more of a reminder of how bad Daryl Morey really is at his job. Nobody even notices these moves, and they're completely because he's bad at his job.
Yeah, you're just giving away assets because you have overpaid and made weird deals. And yep.
I mean, no offense to Dennis Lindsey, but signing Derek Favors again was a mistake.
Huge mistake,
and they really had to pay for it by attaching a first-round pick just to get him off the roster.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want that to be a reminder. Next time somebody tells you how great Daryl Morey is, just remember, oh, yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, there's a fine line between being really creative, which Daryl Morey's, he finds a way to get deals done that other GMs don't seem to be able to do. He also gets so creative that he ends up having to pay the price just to get out of some of these deals because he paints himself into a corner.
If by creative you mean dumb, then yeah.
To the point, so, the Jazz I thought lacked some creativity trying to get off of Derek Favors, and maybe that was their only option. Or signing Derek Favors in the first place was a lack of creativity. It was just like, well, he's a backup center. We know him, so we're going to pay him too much money. And that was a huge mistake that they made, and then they had to attach a first to get rid of him. That's a lack of creativity. Daryl's so artistic as a general manager that he ends up really paying the price as well. You got to find a sweet spot in between.
Okay.
Dennis lacked it. Daryl's got too much of it.
Getting James Harden really worked out for him.
It's been a great run.
Yeah. Then they had to flip him for nothing. That probably wasn't terrific. We'll talk more NBA trade deadline, which is, of course, tomorrow. We'll get to that. More of that coming up as the show goes along. I also have an NFL take on the conspiracy side that I do want to give you. You can tell me if I don't know where I'm at.
Okay.
All right. But we are live here at Performance Toyota. We are in Bountiful, 2380 US 89. Very easy to find. And we're here helping pets find homes, which is terrific. Come on by and you can adopt a pet today. In fact, joining us now from Fawn's Family Cat Rescue, Aria is with us here on the Jake and Ben Show. Aria, thanks for jumping on with us. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Aria, I've never adopted a cat. I know a lot of people get cats from litters and small, but how do adopted cats do? How do cats that are maybe a little bit older that have some of these cats have been left outside, had some hard days? How do they do as adoptions?
They usually do just fine as long as you give them time to acclimate. They do just as fine.
Okay.
Who's this little one you've got with you today?
This is Badger.
Hi, Badger.
Badger's missing his ears. He actually was left outside. He had some frostbite.
Okay.
But he does just fine. As you can see, he just wants to be held, loved on, cuddled.
Great cat.
He's a sweetie.
Yeah, he's a handsome little devil.
Yeah.
And the point you made right there is the point, right? These pets just want to be loved and part of a
Yep.
family. And, it's one of those things where you can really make a lot of difference in a pet's life just by simply
Absolutely.
dropping by to Performance Toyota one random Wednesday.
Yep. I wasn't even planning on being here.
And now you're on the radio.
And now you're here finding homes for pets. I love it.
So what's the process? Generally, how much does a cat adoption cost right now? Is there a kind of a basic range in price?
It varies. I know the shelters are usually between $25 and $50.
Yeah.
We do ours between $85 and $100.
Okay.
So pretty close.
And do they come with shots? They come everything ready to go?
Fixed, vaccinated, microchipped, all of the things, so you don't have to worry about it.
So you guys make it really easy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. We love easy, and our listeners do too. Well, thank you for all you do, Aria. We really appreciate it, and thanks for jumping on with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, we'll have more coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I want to remind you that Hans and Scotty G are going to be live coming up on Thursday. That'd be tomorrow at RGS Exteriors from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. We're going to have What You Got Wednesday coming up at 11:30. Stay tuned for that. We are live from Performance Toyota here in Bountiful. And, of course, come check out this beautiful dealership, 2380 US 89. But today we're here especially to help pets find homes, Ben. You can drop by, adopt a dog or a cat. As you may hear, there are dogs present.
Yeah.
That you may have noticed. You could also probably hear a cat meow, but we're not quite that close to them.
And the Cats are pretty quiet. But, yeah, we got a lot of options down here. Come on down. Maybe you're just on your lunch break. You need a little pick-me-up. Come on down. Check out some of these animals.
All right, Ben. Let me drop this NFL thing on you, and then we can get back to trades, because that's the topic of the day, and what will the Jazz do, should they do, etc. Did you see, though, Ben, that the NFL Referees Association Executive Director Scott Green released a statement? And he basically, long and short of it, long-windy way of saying, and this is part of it, quote, "It is insulting and preposterous to hear conspiracy theories that somehow 17 officiating crews consisting of 138 officials are colluding to assist one team." Talking about
the Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs, and the controversial calls that have gone their way. So tell me if I'm crazy by thinking this, Ben, because I actually initially think, yeah, the fact that the referees are fixing games for the Chiefs is ludicrous to me. It is. It is. I buy into the theory that Austin Rivers put out there, and that the refs are just fans who basically project their feelings of admiration into their calls. I would believe that 1,000%.
Right.
That these referees love Patrick Mahomes with
all
their heart. Yeah. And he ends up being, it would totally explain star treatment in the NBA, for example. So I don't come along with these conspiracies that are out there. But I got to tell you, Scott Green, if you release a crazy long statement and you actually address it, it makes me think like, well, what are you up to, Scott? Like, why are you even addressing this? When you bust your kid's lying, Ben, and you go, did you put a peanut butter sandwich, I don't know, in the couch cushions?
Yeah.
And they go, Dad, the idea that I would put a peanut butter sandwich into the couch cushions is 1,000% ludicrous.
It's
and then he
so
talks
offensive,
for 5 minutes about how he would never do that. It would make you think like,
this kid absolutely put the sandwich in there.
I think this kid put the sandwich into the couch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's almost the same thing, similar to the NBA with the last 2 minutes. Like, don't acknowledge that you screwed up.
Right.
Don't even give it the time of day, because when you do, in the moment I think that you think you're not perfect is that I think that you're up to something. You know what I mean? Like, why, if you're the referees guy, why are you paying any the idea of them fixing games for the Chiefs is and should be ludicrous. It shouldn't even have to be acknowledged.
And the second you acknowledge it, now whatever happens this weekend in the Super Bowl will look like a potential reaction to what he just said.
Oh, great point. Yeah, terrific point.
If there is a controversial call that goes the way of the Chiefs, people are going to draw this back up and say, look, he said this, but clearly it's happening again. And if there's a call that's missed, they're going to say, well, look, clearly there was a reaction to what the criticism was, which means that they probably were fixing games in the first place, and now they're trying to adjust it to fix it, but they've overcorrected. But to your point, it's why you don't even mention it. It's why you don't even give it the light of day. There's no reason to.
It tells me that you're actually listening to people say that.
Yeah, because clearly they are.
Because clearly they are. Why are you listening to these bozos who are just shouting about how they're just mad their team lost? Like, you're even misidentifying where that emotion or whatever is coming from. Like, yeah, they're mad about a missed call. We see it every single day covering sports. Fans get bent out of shape about missed calls. What they're really bent out of shape about is that their team lost.
Yeah.
And they're looking for something to blame it on. And referees and bad calls happen so often, it's easy to do. So Bills fans are mad that they're not in the Super Bowl. So they're going to, well, I guess maybe the Bills isn't the best example, but there's a number of Chiefs games this year
of course,
where fans are like, oh, they're just fixing it for the Chiefs. Those fans are not making an accusation in court. Those fans have their feelings hurt because their team lost. So when you acknowledge it, it tells me that you don't even understand that. And so if you're going to listen to somebody just flying off the handle, Ben, when you get home and bark with your kids or bark at your kids because you got in a fender bender, on the way to work or whatever, It actually doesn't have anything to do with what you're barking at your kids about. And I'm sorry,
Right.
I don't mean to paint you in a bad light.
No,
Maybe this is a bad example. Not that Ben is going home and barking at his kids. But it was the best thing I could think of. It actually has nothing to do with Oliver leaving his shoes in the middle of the floor.
Sure.
And has everything to do with
right what had happened to me previously.
What happened to you previously. And so, like, when you see statements like this, it's like you don't even understand the world that you're living in.
Right.
You don't even understand. Like, refs are supposed to be these earless arbiters of the rules that are, yes, imperfect, but are doing their best to do it as they see fit. Not be swayed by the crowd. Not be too online. Certainly not have money on the game. Like, all these things that are just expected. And when you acknowledge people who are not people are accusing you of not meeting those expectations, and you're like, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Well, why are you even acknowledging it? Your job is to be beyond reproach. You know, if some wingnut yelled at a judge that they were corrupt or something like that, I would hope the judge would just blow it off because, oh, my gosh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The second the judge was like,
Yeah, right.
then I'm like,
Yeah, why are you explaining all these? Why have you thought about all these decisions that you've made? Yeah, why have you paid extra money?
So am I crazy?
No, I think you're right. And even if you get asked about it, which again they're conducting all these interviews at Super Bowl week, and they're out, and that's where this comes from, or part of where this comes from. Yeah, it's stupid. You have to have a canned answer that says, "Oh, look, obviously that's ridiculous," to the point where I'm not even going to pay it any attention.
No, you go. What's that guy? What's his name? The baseball player, Bryce Harper. You go clown. That's a clown question, bro.
Yeah.
Are you guys fixing games for the Chiefs? That is a clown question that will not be dignified with a response. There, I fixed it.
Yeah, right. And that's all you have to say.
And that's all you have to say.
Yeah. But yeah, I am with you. You just give it life. When you talk about it, you give it life, and that doesn't help them.
Do you believe that the NFL and the referees are fixing games for the Chiefs?
No, in fact.
Of course you don't.
Here's the problem. Like, ask the majority of the fans which calls they're talking about. They can't remember. They remember that the Chiefs have been in some close games, and like, yeah, Pat Mahomes gets pushed out of bounds, but I can't remember who they were playing, and was that this year or was that last year? It's just, no, you've heard the narrative, and now you've heard the narrative so many times that you've bought into the narrative, but you actually probably can't go back and specifically say, like, oh, this was the late hit, this was the pass interference, this was the, pushing him out of bounds, whatever it is. You actually probably can't remember which ones of those you are complaining about, so much as it is just a narrative that has kind of penetrated the national conversation.
Well, that's what made me laugh about the Mark Harlan thing. He was just sad his team lost. Needed to find something to express his sadness upon. He couldn't yell at his coach because his coach has way more clout than he does. So I'm going to kick in the door of a press conference and yell at everybody about how bad the refereeing was.
And he did a great job.
It's like you're not actually that upset about the refereeing. You're upset your team lost.
Correct. Absolutely.
And you were probably riding high for the whole second half because Utah was looking like they were going to win. And you're probably, celebrating with everybody up in the box. You're feeling good. You go down to field level, and by the time they get there, your team is lost.
Yeah.
And you're sad. I understand. And you needed an outlet. And the referees and the Big 12 became your outlet. But it wasn't about the referees. It was about you're sad your team lost.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You got to get over it.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Witt is so demonstrative about referees and calls in the last couple of minutes, you know? Truth is, if Utah played better down the stretch, that should not have mattered.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of this comes.
And then the bad call in that particular game, where did BYU end up? They got a first down, and they ended up on what, like the 20-yard line?
Mm-hmm.
They still had 80 yards to go.
They still had a long ways to go. Yeah, and Utah did not get the stops. It's why I have said, if we're talking about the Super Bowl, if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you just need to beat them by a lot. You got to beat them by 2 scores. You can't put yourself in these situations, not because the refs are going to fix the game in their favor. The Chiefs know how to win close games. They are really good at it. They're really well coached. They've been in these situations before. Patrick Mahomes is better at it than anyone on the planet right now. So when push comes to shove, they're going to win close games. The same reason credit BYU this year. They were really good late in the second half. Or first half, excuse me. They were good late in games when they were in close games. They had enough experience that they figured out how to win these types of games, and Utah fell victim to it and didn't know how to win these types of close games because they didn't have the type of quarterback you need to win those games. The Chiefs have it. So if you're going to beat them, don't put yourself in a close situation. Not because the refs are going to beat you, but because Patrick Mahomes is going to beat you because he's good enough to do it. So you got to be up by 13 points. And then when you're up by 13 points, nobody cares if there's a play or a call that extends a drive. Because even if they score, they've got to do an onside kick and get the ball back, and it's never going to happen, and then we forget that the call happened in the first place. And I think that's the main issue. They're in a lot of close games because they're a really good team, and they win. They play a lot on TV, so we watch them, so we micromanage every call, or we look at every call under a microscope, and I think that's the bigger part of the story.
I love that Austin Rivers said that. That makes so much sense to me that these referees are just fans and are essentially, wish casting. How about this, Ben? If Michael Jordan were holding the ball and Karl Malone were stripping it out of his hands in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, that's going to get called a foul. You know what play I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, where Karl was having it, and he's doing his Karl pivot with his elbows up, and Michael goes in and digs it out.
Yes.
If Michael had the ball and the situation were reversed, that's a foul 10 out of 10 times. Because those refs didn't call it because they wanted to see Michael Jordan heroics in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. And they may not admit it, but it's like the string. Have you ever done the string trick where you hold it and you can move it with your mind? And it's really your fingers doing it, but you think, I'm not moving.
Yeah, right.
I'm not moving. It's like you are. You just don't know it. It's that. I'm not rooting for Michael Jordan to win the NBA Finals. Yes, you are.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
You believe the narrative. Yeah, and maybe the more clear-cut version would be, Howard Isley's three that gets waved off. If Michael Jordan shoots that three, it's not going to get waved off.
No.
Because Dick Bavetta believes Michael Jordan can get that shot off and doesn't believe Howard Isley can.
I was telling you, I rewatched the stupid Jordan propaganda documentary or whatever, and one of the most interesting scenes in that whole thing still remains the practice that they did with the Dream Team before they went to the Olympics, and it was this legendary practice where everybody was just going full bore. And they caught one part where a foul was called, and a foul was called on Magic, I think, against Michael, and Magic complained. He's like, just like the NBA, you get every single call. And it's like, yeah, Michael got every single call.
Right.
Because those refs loved Michael Jordan. Even the refs in the pickup game. More than Magic Johnson.
Right.
Who also got every call known to man.
Right.
But everybody knew it. And that's the reason. It's not because they had money on Michael or because the league thought it was better if Michael Jordan won all these games. No, it's because referees are weak-willed, small humans.
They're human, period. They're human. And they are swayed by things that humans are swayed by, which is expectation. So what do you think is going to happen, and then you make it happen?
Yeah. Oh, Patrick Mahomes missed a pass? Well, he must have gotten his head taken off because there's no way he
Steph
misses
Curry
that
airballs
pass.
a three. Well, he must have gotten hit on the elbow.
Obviously.
Well, no, he shot 20,000 threes in his life. One of them's going to be an airball.
Honestly, if referees had any intelligence, they'd be doing something else.
That's a blanket statement.
I'm serious.
I think they make pretty good money. Not crazy good money, but...
Do you know what garbage you have to go through to be a professional ref?
It's horrible. You're right. It is horrible.
And you know what a personality disorder you have to be a referee in the first place?
Yeah. It's a specific type.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're here at Performance Toyota. We're having a great time finding pets homes, which is really great. And, of course, Performance Toyota, great partner of ours. And they're just terrific. If any of these refs had anything going for them, they'd be doing what Patricia does, and that's
helping people's lives,
changing
people's
cars,
lives,
being successful and not cantankerous. Patricia, thank you for joining us. I tried to figure a segue in from complaining about referees to talking about Performance Toyota and finding pets.
Oh.
It didn't go terrifically well, I'll admit it.
Okay.
They can't all be home runs. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what's kind of amazing about this is every commercial break I'm going over and looking at the animals and talking to the cats and talking to the dogs. There's a huge variety.
There are a lot.
Puppies, there are young puppies, there are purebreds, there are a lot. Whatever you're looking for, you can find.
You can easily find. In fact, one of our warranty clerk just got the doodle.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'm rounding them up.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
And the doodles are the hypoallergenic ones,
yep,
right?
non-allergenic.
Yeah, so you really can find, what you're looking for, a little member of the family.
But there are puppies, there are dogs under 1, there are older dogs, there are older cats, there are all sorts of different energy levels. So I'm impressed. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to get them homes. That's what it's all about.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's cool that your crew here at Performance Toyota are pitching into and taking home pets. It's great.
We love doing this stuff. Thank you.
And it's great to be a part of the community. I know that's a big deal to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. This is something that we love to do, and we just add it into the mix of everything else we do with the community. We're also involved with the local schools, and so, yeah, this is just an add-on and a lovely addition.
I think one of the really cool things that you mentioned, which I hadn't even thought of, and of course it's like, people lost their homes, they lost everything in these fires in California, and when you're in a hurry, maybe you didn't have your pet right there with you, and some of these pets lost their houses, or their family lost the house that you can't keep the dog at the hotel or the cat at the hotel. So some of these cats and dogs have been through a lot and just need a loving home, and this is how you can help those families honestly give that their pet that next home.
That is true. Then also some of them weren't chipped, and they don't know that they're where they are. So this is another good reason to get your pets chipped.
Well, Patricia, thank you for joining us, of course, but thanks for your great partnership on this cause. It's really great.
Oh, thank you for your support. Thank you.
All right, we'll have more coming up next. What You Got Wednesday, straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's that?
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Valentine's Day is next week. What better way to say I love you than an original, cozy, and classy Miki Couture blanket? Save 50% using promo code ZONE50 in stores and online at MikiCouture.com. That's Miki Couture. They have you covered. It's time for What You Got Wednesday. If you're new to the show, every Wednesday, Ben and I go head-to-head on 2 5-selection drafts, one sports-related, one not, and then we put it up for a vote. All right, Christian, what did last week look like?
Last week, worst last stops in a player's career. Jake, you won 75-25, and then best vehicle movies. Ben, you won 56-44.
Oh, I think
that was close.
Alien pushed me over the top.
What a ridiculous selection.
It's the right answer.
Oh, please.
It's a vehicle.
All right, so Ben goes first in the sports-related. I'll go first in the not. What's our sports-related draft today?
Today we're doing in honor of the Super Bowl, best all-time Chiefs or Eagles players.
I do think there's an obvious answer, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes might end up as viewed as the greatest football player of all time. I think it's going to be hard to pass Brady. I think we forget how quickly or how easily it is to fall off with a single injury and how quickly your career can dissipate. But I think it's got to be Patrick Mahomes.
That is probably the right answer, but I'm actually glad that I got the second pick on this one because you don't even remember when this player played for the Eagles.
I do. I remember seeing Art Monk play for the Eagles in his last year in the NFL.
Reggie White. Reggie White, I will take. Again, Ben only remembers him as a Packer somehow, but actually his best years were as an Eagle.
I did have him number 2 on my board, right behind Patrick Mahomes. So I think that's right. All right. I will go with – I can't believe I'm going 2 Chiefs here because the Chiefs don't actually have a crazy run of great players.
And I hate the Chiefs so much.
But give me Tony Gonzalez, who might be the greatest tight end of all time. Give me Tony Gonzalez.
He sucks.
Okay.
just isn't very good. All right. I'm going to go with also a Chief, unfortunately, Derek Thomas.
Okay.
Who was absolutely an amazing player and obviously passed away before his time.
Good pick. I'm going to go with – I'm going to go name value here. I'm going to go Donovan McNabb. That's probably more name value over quality of player.
Yeah, he stinks.
But no, Donovan McNabb was awesome. Was a really great football player, and happy to have him.
I don't even think that Tony Gonzalez was the best tight end for the Chiefs.
That's fine.
I'm going to say Travis Kelce.
I think that's very fair.
Who is better than Tony Gonzalez was.
But hasn't wrapped up his career yet. But, yeah, has the Super Bowls. I think that's fair.
Fact.
All right, and I will say I don't even think Travis Kelce's the best player in his own family. And give me arguably the greatest center of all time, Jason Kelce, his brother.
You mean the podcast guy?
Say the same thing about Travis.
I didn't even know he played football. He does? I'm just waiting. I don't think I've seen a single Jason Kelce highlight ever.
Yeah, because he's a center. Yeah, they don't make highlights for centers.
And I saw Jonathan Ogden highlights all the time.
Didn't play center.
Not technically a center. Well, that actually furthers the point. How could you pick somebody that high that plays such an inconsequential position?
It's extraordinarily consequential, and he's going to be a Lock Hall of Famer. But yeah, so
you just told me I haven't seen a highlight of him because he plays center.
Right, because that's not a position you get a lot of love
I'm going to go with an actual decent offensive lineman who I have seen highlights for and say Will Shields.
Okay, yeah, that'll get you a ton of votes.
Don't know what to tell you. Better player than Jason Kelce.
This is brief, but I think he's about to win
pick a
Super
kicker
Bowl
now?
MVP.
Punter?
Saquon Barkley. He's only been there a year, but he's the best player right now, I think, in the NFL. Okay. And I think Saquon's going to win Super Bowl MVP. So give me Saquon.
If I'm going to pick an Eagles quarterback that has not won the Super Bowl, I'm certainly not taking Donovan McNabb.
Okay.
And I'm taking Randall Cunningham, baby.
Yeah, that's great.
No Brian Dawkins?
The pride of UNLV.
We left a lot off the board. Priest Holmes.
He wasn't.
Fletcher Cox.
He was all right.
Yeah, great players.
No, Priest Holmes was not a great player. He's like a running back that had a great year.
And maybe that's all Saquon is too.
Brian Dawkins, yeah, that's definitely one. Any other ones we missed, you think, Christian?
I think Jason Peters might be better than Will Shields.
Okay. Now, see, this is the point. We're splitting hairs over offensive linemen now.
Chuck Bednarik, you know?
Yeah, nobody's heard of him.
The Art Monk of linebackers.
Tyreek Hill could be in conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you seen him with the Dolphins? He stinks.
Well, this is not a Dolphins draft.
Okay. Let's review.
Ben, you had the number one pick. You went Patrick Mahomes, Tony Gonzalez, Donovan McNabb, Jason Kelce, and Saquon Barkley. Jake, you went Reggie White, Derek Thomas, Travis Kelce, Will Shields, and Randall Cunningham.
Oh, Cunningham puts me over the top.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Cunningham is a legend.
You thought Art Monk was going to win you something.
Just
no one's
because
ever seen him play
you
football.
didn't watch football before 1995 doesn't mean
nobody watched football before 1995. Michael Jordan was on TV.
What is our not sports related topic?
Non-sports draft today. We've got a real hater. Best 90s TV characters.
I like this one.
Okay.
I think there is an obvious number one.
Do you?
I do. Do you?
I know who I'm picking.
Homer Simpson
Okay.
is the number one television character of the 90s.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. I had him at number 2. And I'll just tell you, I'm going to take George Costanza, who I think the fact that he ended in his prime, which is in fact the George Costanza thing, right? Leave on a high note. The fact that Homer's been on for 25 years after the 90s, and it's mostly been garbage TV, might hurt him. And George left at the right time. And he might have even left a season or two too late.
All right, my next one, and honestly, if you want to veto this, I'm fine.
Okay.
Eric Cartman.
No, I think that's fine.
South Park was
very late.
Like 99 South Park was like season 1.
It's fine.
All right, Eric Cartman.
If you want to take that, that's just fine. I will go with. You know what? I'm actually gonna go with a different direction. I'm gonna go Uncle Phil. I think Uncle Phil really was a beloved TV character from a Fresh Prince. And I know it's about other people, but Uncle Phil was like the core of that show. And I hate to just be going exclusively fathers, which I think is what we're going to go heavy with in this role. But it was a lot about dads, and I think Uncle Phil overall was a great father.
Okay. Yeah. I see that just wasn't my show.
Sure.
So, yeah, okay. But a lot of these, honestly, 90s TV was not great. Even though this wasn't my favorite show, he was probably the best character on it, and it's found a new resurgence, so maybe it'll give me some votes. Chandler Bing.
Okay. I'm not a Chandler guy. I'm not a huge Friends guy, and I'm specifically not a Chandler guy. But you're right. There is some.
He's the most tolerable of all those characters.
You think so? You like him more than Joey?
Yeah.
I like Joey more than Chandler. I think Joey, as far as just like pure comic relief, is better.
They did to him what The Simpsons did to Homer.
Yeah, they made him so stupid.
They made him way too dumb.
Yeah.
Not like I feel like Joey was supposed to be almost naive, right? And they turned him into
hardly functioning. He's not a person who could have a job.
Exactly.
Yeah, who could actually get through a day. I think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fine. All right, I'm going to go with. You know what I'm going to go with? This probably won't get me a whole lot of votes, but it's hard to really express how big of a star she was. Give me Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City. That show was mammoth. That show was so huge and really helped launch like primetime HBO. You have to have it to watch TV. Carrie Bradshaw.
Not big with our listeners.
Probably
however. Gotta say, not necessarily huge with our listeners. I'm going to go with Al Bundy.
Okay. Probably bigger with our listeners.
Al Bundy.
I really did not like that show.
Married with Children?
Yeah, Married with Children.
It wasn't a good show.
It was not a good show.
It was not a good show, but it was
also a person who could not have actually functioned in the world.
It was part of Fox's birth into the scene where they wanted to be edgy,
raunchy. Yeah,
and The Simpsons were part of that, and Married with Children were part. It was a phenomenon. Al Bundy.
I will go with Dan from Roseanne, also a dad. But Dan was great. It was a very funny character. Roseanne was a much smarter show than I think it got credit for, and really was kind of edgy as well. Got into some really ahead of its time issues. Pretty interesting if you go back and watch it.
What number am I on here? This is my last pick. Okay, good, because I'm going to save this for last. It will get me no votes, but it's my actual answer.
Okay.
Lenny Briscoe.
Okay, yeah. It's great.
From Law & Order, Lenny Briscoe. I could have gone with Jack, but I think Jack was more the aughts, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably.
So
hardcore 90s Law & Order.
Lenny Briscoe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, I will go with, this is my last pick, Christian. Yep. Give me Frasier. I really do like Frasier. Frasier was a hilarious TV show, and Dr. Frasier Crane was great.
See, that's a fine pick. That show was fine. But I didn't pick Jerry Seinfeld. I didn't go with, Frasier was the straight arrow on that show, where he was a side kind of zany character in Cheers, but the dad was the best character on that show.
And I think a lot of people even say Niles is the best character.
Niles.
Right.
The Niles was too nervous for me, but I thought the dad was hilarious.
Right.
Just kind of the fish out of water part of the story was the funny part.
I got you.
But Jerry Seinfeld was just horrendous.
Right. It's the revolving cast around
right.
him. Elaine is better than Jerry by a lot.
By a lot.
Yeah.
I was, Jerry might get you votes, but he was the 10th best thing about that show.
I'm with you.
And Frasier was better in Cheers than he was in Frasier, although Frasier is a fine show, but it wasn't him that made it funny.
This is before your time, Christian. Do you have names that you think we left out?
What's Kevin James' character in King of Queens?
And even that feels very 2000s.
That's very odd.
And I was also thinking Sopranos, but that's also sneaking into the 90s. So
yeah, that's very late 90s.
Cartman was borderline. I almost didn't take Cartman because South Park was just starting, and Cartman wasn't even really the star of the show until later.
Tim Allen and Home Improvement was hilarious.
I just hated that show so much.
But it was a very funny show.
I also hated Saved by the Bell,
which
people tell us, how could you miss out on Kelly Kapowski?
I didn't watch X-Files, which was the other huge show of the 90s, and I haven't watched a ton of Buffy, because I think there's probably people who are like, it's got to be Buffy.
But she wasn't even the best Buffy.
You don't think she was? You think the original movie?
Yeah.
No, people like her way better. Sarah Michelle.
I know, but people are wrong. All right.
Yeah, please recap.
I should have gone with a 90210 character. I'm really kicking myself there. I don't know who I would have picked, though. Probably Dylan McKay.
Recap.
Never watched
Jake, you had the number 1 pick. You went Homer Simpson, Eric Cartman, Chandler Bing, Al Bundy, and Lenny Briscoe. Ben, you went George Costanza, Uncle Phil, Carrie Bradshaw, Dan, and Frasier.
Okay.
Yeah, some
Carrie Bradshaw is going to sink you.
I don't know. I think that show has a life. There's a lot of guys who watch that show with their wife.
And hated every second of it. Certainly not going to vote for it. Oh, that show was not good.
I think you're kind of doing the Friends. I think people watch Friends. A lot of guys watch Friends too.
I know they do. People watched Everybody Loves Raymond. I didn't like that show either.
I think people watch
I'm just delivering my personal opinion.
Okay. We'll see.
And certain shows do appeal to certain demos. And I don't think ours overlaps with Sex and the City all that much.
You did go with 2 cartoon characters right off the bat, which might hurt you.
It might. And honestly, people know Lenny Briscoe. That might hurt me too.
Yeah.
But that was a passion pick right there.
Great.
Was he the best detective in that show? He's got to be, right?
Most effective.
Best actor to play a detective.
Yeah, for sure.
Jerry Orbach, legend.
Yeah.
He's the Beauty and the Beast guy. All right, stay tuned. He's the put baby in the corner. He put baby in the corner.
Correct.
We'll wrap up Jake and Ben next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Now let's get this party started.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
There are a couple of reasons that I didn't become a doctor.
Same reasons you didn't become a paleontologist?
Why do you crack a smile and then make a joke?
I'm just saying, there's a couple of reasons I wasn't a lawyer. Number 1, the LSAT scared me. Number 2, I thought I'd fail miserably. And number 3, I didn't think I was smart enough. So, there are just a couple of reasons why I didn't become a lawyer.
Can I make a point without you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you. You've never talked about wanting to be a doctor before. To me, this seems like you were just right on the cusp of going to medical school, and then just these 1 or 2 little things came up and made you think, no, I'm not going to do that.
Doctor.
Doctor. Doctor.
Can you not attack me? You know, it bugs me when you do that.
Doctor. Doctor. Doctor.
Stop playing that.
And doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got it made Jake's and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
This is for Jake and Ben. Boy, the Jazz could really use old Taylor Hendricks when they play the Ledonchiks.
Ledonchiks, I like that. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. By the way, you can always participate in the show and leave a message on the KSL Sports Zone app. I always want to call it the open mic. What's it called? That was what it used to be called.
It's the call-in.
Call-in. Thank you. Jeez, I don't know why it's that hard. The call-in function on the KSL Sports app, and just say it's for Jake and Ben. You can send it whenever, because we know we have a lot of great podcast listeners, too, so don't hesitate to drop in at any time. Just say, this is for Jake and Ben, and then give us your hot take.
Yeah.
The Doncic's. I like that. The There have been, believe it or not, a lot of good storylines with this Jazz team, depending on what you're looking for. You know, we talk about it a lot. I mean, the development and performance of Walker Kessler has been, a terrific story. The biggest negative, honestly, has been the injury to Taylor Hendricks. You know, the guy that really could use this season and these opportunities to get better, and he's such a great athlete and all the things.
Right.
And anytime his name comes up, it just kind of bumps me out. For obvious reasons.
Yeah, the Jazz have had a hard time, I think, with the narrative of this year, which is like they're trying to paint that they're pretending that they're trying to win when we know they're not, but like they kind of have to talk about it like they are because you get fined if you do the Jason Kidd thing and you're just kind of blatant about the fact that
which
you're not trying to.
Which is ridiculous, but yeah.
Because you have to talk about that, it makes it look like what you're doing is bad or wrong or you're not achieving your goals, when I think if you were to get them behind the scenes and talk, they'd feel like they've done a lot of what they were hoping to.
All right, it's been fun today. We've been hanging out at Performance Toyota, 2380 US 89 in Bountiful, and they do wonderful work here, but we're also here matching pets with families. And joining us now is Kim from Outreach Possibilities. I love the I emphasize the paw.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on with us, Kim. How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing terrific. I've got to imagine this is a bit of a labor of love for you. You know what I mean? I mean, this is a lot of work. I'm sure it's really hard work, but you've got to love these pets and love finding them new homes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You got to give up your whole life.
Yeah.
Who is this little one?
This is Owen. He is a 7-week-old poodle chihuahua.
Wow.
He actually came out of New Mexico. The other puppies we have actually come out of California from the fires.
Okay.
If you want to adopt them, you can reach out to us on Facebook and connect with us. But with our adoptions, it includes spays, neuters, and lifetime training, and all their shots. And we adopted out 200 dogs last year, over 200, and this year we're at over 1 dog for every day this year.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Congratulations.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Well, this sort of thing is just so cool, and having the access for people to come out and do it.
I think a lot of people think adoption, it's going to be like a 13-year-old animal, which there are. There are some animals that just need maybe their last home and a place where they're a little bit low energy. But the number of puppies and variety of animals you have, if you are looking to adopt and you're looking for maybe something to bring to the family that you're going to have for the next 10 to 15 years, you do have those options as well.
Yeah, and we also have a foster to adopt program, so you can foster.
Okay.
And Perfect Paw Prints was here, and if you want to foster cats, they have a foster program also. Everybody's pretty booked right now and pretty over full. And so we just are looking for fosters, adopters, anything we can to lighten up our load.
Well, Kim, thank you for what you do, and thank you for letting our show be a small part of it today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Hans and Scotty are coming up next. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Jake
Christian.
and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.